welcome back to DETALKS. With me, Mr. David Patterson of Lake Country Manufacturing. How you doing, brother?
Good, how about you?
I'm good. We've just been swapping stories and talking, enjoying this week that we have to hang out and do videos for you guys. And one of the questions that a lot of people have, I know I have, is how are pads made? Now, David works for Lake Country Manufacturing. That's all you guys do.
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah,
and dice cups.
Part. Yeah.
Leather dice cups.
Mainly make foam and wool buffing pads.
Yeah. So, and you do everything in-house?
Yeah, almost everything
whole factory
is done in-house for 90+% of our products, and it all starts from a raw material.
So say you get a giant brick of foam or
pelts
from sheep?
Absolutely. So we get full sheep skins. We get different types of wool, whether it's a knitted type material or yarn, where we create and sew all of our own buffing pads. And when you get into foams, they come in what we call buns, similar to like a loaf of bread. There's videos all over the place, just like everything else that we do, that you can kind of Google and YouTube and find some different videos on how foam is made. Most of our foam is made in Europe, overall for the most part, but we utilize some different foams from the U.S. and Asia. But like I said, the huge foam market at this point for us is mainly European pre-polymer type foams. The skin is kind of like a bread crust, and it protects the middle. So, you take a loaf of bread and you cut down the middle of it and you leave it open, and it starts to get dry. Yeah. But as long as that's together, the inside usually stays good for long periods of time. And then polyurethane typically has a really long life or shelf life.
Right.
So those two things combined make it an awesome material for us in the industry that we're in.
And then you guys get your backing.
Yep.
And you have different types of backing for various pads.
Yeah.
So you've got a permeable and a non-permeable.
Correct. Yep.
Backing. So it just depends on the pads, whether they're going to be run wet or dry or.
Yeah, or the intended purpose for them and what type of machine they're going to be used on. So a perfect example is the Optimum waffle pads. So the Optimum waffle pad is one of the only pads in the market that has a breathable Velcro, a truly breathable Velcro, so you can blow through it. It dissipates heat well, and there's advantages and disadvantages to that depending on the system that it's used in and how it's being used in the tools. So on a lot of other pads, there are significant advantages to doing the exact opposite. So when you get into a thinner pad, or you get into most small DA pads, the concern is whether that foam is completely covered in polish, and what happens to that polish when it's completely through the pad. And essentially, if it does not have a vapor or a moisture barrier in the back, it's going to come through the Velcro and then all into your backing plate. Right. So for heat dissipation and for the Optimum Hyper system, it works phenomenal because it lets things breathe, but you never get to that point of saturation because of the process in the pad washer and the way that it's used properly. And you typically don't have those types of problems on a rotary tool either. So the migration is normally found typically in DA polishing, just because of the movement of the pad and how it tends to penetrate the foam.
Right, makes sense.
So yeah, it's everything's a little bit different, whether it's in the barrier or the adhesive, or in the Velcro that's used, because obviously if you compared those two pads, the Velcro, or compared to normal
totally
pad,
different.
It's totally different too. So essentially we take these loaves of bread and we cut them into sheets and then cut our discs from them. And this is for the most part, because every pad's made a little bit different. And then it's when they're cut into or when they get sheeted into large sheets, it's whether the type of pad that it's going to become. So
that's when you lay the backing.
Yeah. So on some pads we'll either lay backing and we lay Velcro on the entire sheet and then cut pieces. Others we actually cut pieces of foam and the Velcro is applied afterwards. So depending on the style of pad.
Yeah. So like our rag company, Lake Country pads, we have both logos on it.
Yep.
And they printed the logo and then it goes on a sheet.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
the foam sheet gets made, and then the backing plate or the backing gets applied to that with our company logos corresponded and patterned throughout that, and then it goes through and gets cut.
Yeah, and we do a really cool UV print, like you can see on your pads. It's really clean and crisp and clear. At least for printing on Velcro, it's very clean and crisp.
Yeah.
And then we lay that out over an entire sheet, and we'll cut discs. And after those discs are cut, then they go through a shaping process in order to decipher the profile.
Right.
And some of the things that people don't necessarily think about is, what size did that pad start with? So depending on your size range, sometimes people don't understand how a pad comes to a certain price point, and a lot of that has to do with the materials. But I mean, let's say we'll use a Rupes pad. It's a 7-inch diameter pad with a 6-inch Velcro. That pad started at larger than 7 inches when it was cut, and sometimes that dictates how much a pad costs, because even though a pad that has a 5-inch Velcro, let's say it has a 5.5-inch outer diameter. Well, that pad technically is started from a smaller size, and if it affects the number of pieces that you get out of that sheet or yield, that affects your costs, and that affects the end price of that item. So those are certainly things to think about when you're looking at a price point of a pad. When you say, "Oh, this pad is too expensive," or something like that, there are certain things to think about. Also, when you do textured faces like a waffle or any other thing, those add costs into a pad also. But really, what we focus on is engineering or adding value to it. So whatever feature it is worth it. The other form of pads are where we cut discs, and some people are familiar with our curved pads. It's a product line that's been around for a long time, and those items get heated and curved to have that recessed shape, and have a different type of structure on how it's built. And typically those are rotary style pads.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But wool pads are made very similar to that. So like in our curved style foam, we take sheets and we use different types of adhesives and plastics in order to shape them. And we do the same thing with our wool. So instead of using a foam disc, we actually sew a big wool disc and then curve it and shape it the same way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But most of the machines are all custom.
That's awesome.
They're kind of neat, and they're kind of neat to see where they start and how they finish, and that you can't just go out and purchase one. You have to design
how it's actually going to do it.
Yeah.
One of these days I'm going to have to come out there and actually wander through the factory. I'll film it, of course, and then you guys can see it as well. But do check out YouTube and search for that stuff, because it's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
And especially as a detailer, you should learn this stuff, because it will make sense to you, whether you're purchasing products like David said, or you're wondering why the cost of something so high, or what the difference is in all the foam and wool and all that stuff is. So, dude, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. This is so much fun. And you can learn more. Check out LakeCountryMFG.com for the website. Check out Facebook, Lake Country Manufacturing, and Instagram, Lake Country Manufacturing, all written out. You can check out David Patterson on Facebook. Send him some messages. Tell him you like him and all that good stuff.
And subscribe to your channel.
Subscribe to DETALKS. Comment below. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, and stay tuned for more videos right here on the Rag Company YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.